Of course. Well, thank you for recording, Carrie, because I was going to remind you. And Drew,
I
thank you
need
so
that.
much for joining us again. We do have quite a few people that are joining in our workplace who may not know you. So
Sure.
can you do a little introduction for us and tell us what we're going to be talking about today?
Sure, I'm happy to. Thanks for having me today. My name is Drew Ferguson. I am one half of what we call TFC Group. We're a mortgage lender with Movement Mortgage. We're based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We carry 6 different state licenses at the moment, certainly open to picking up more if there is an opportunity to work together with people that aren't in those 6 states. And those 6 states are North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, Florida, and Illinois are the current 6 licenses we carry. So if there's anyone you all know there that is interested in just talking about real estate in general, we'd love to connect with them. Otherwise, our focus is really on using the mortgage as your financial vehicle. We think there's a lot of lenders out there that anybody can quote you a rate and a payment. Great. How do you really integrate the mortgage with the family's financial future and making sure they're set up for proper success? Because I think one of my favorite sayings I've ever heard in the mortgage business is the lowest way with the wrong strategy can cost you so much more money over the long run. So we want to make sure that we're setting up the families we work with on the right financial strategy with the mortgage in place, tying in with their other investments and things like that they're working with. My partner, Mark Collins, is not with us today, and that's because really the way our team is structured is I handle a lot of our front end business development, presentations, things of that nature, whereas Mark doesn't really want to do those things, and Mark handles all of our financial options for our clients, which he's much stronger at than I am. So it was a uniting of strengths and weaknesses when we came together, and we've been teamed up for about 2 years, and over those last 2 years had the honor to help about 500 different families with their financing. So really excited about that, and always grateful for the opportunity to be able to get in front of people that work in real estate and just talk about different trends that are going on today. What we'll talk about is how to help find you all more sellers in a low inventory market. Some of these things will be, I'm sure, things that you're familiar with, and hopefully there's some additional tools that we can talk about today that will help you grow your business as you're out there looking for more sellers. And then at the end, I've got a couple tools as well. I'll just do a quick demonstration with you all
Awesome.
on, and if you find value in them, hopefully we can work together on putting in use with your business. So
Perfect.
let me share my
So
screen.
I will keep an eye on the chat for you, and we'll keep an eye on workplace in case anybody wants to type in there and ask questions. And Drew, I'll let you just go ahead and get started. I'll just be here, like I said, watching over the chat. And if you need anything, give a shout out, but we so appreciate you being here. So thank you again.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, and as interactive as possible. So please feel free to come off mute and ask questions as they come up. If I don't know the answer, I'll make sure I can get you one. So let me share my screen here. Don't make fun of me for the Virginia Tech Stadium here. We're working on getting better. There we go. Can everybody see that all right? Cool. All right. So let's get started here. Really what we'll talk about today are going to be several things. Primarily, where are listings coming from? What are some of the top producing agents across the country doing to get listings? How to find sellers that a lot of agents are going to just throw to the side and not necessarily work, and summarize some ways that you can get more listings as we go through this. So please feel free to stop me as we go through. But if we think about where are listings actually coming from, right? So 66% of all of listings are coming from people that are either past clients or in their sphere, right? And think about it, right? It's human nature that we really want to probably work those opportunities because they're naturally a little warmer. We've either done a good job for those people in the past, or their friends or acquaintances that have been introduced to us by other people that know and like us. So that's where primarily your biggest source of listings is going to come from, is really your past clients or people that are in your sphere. And I think what gets really fun about real estate, and Mark and I are now starting to experience this as we get into year 7 of lending, is the hard work you put in for those first 5 or 6 years starts to really pay off as those past clients then say, hey, we bought our first house with you 5 years ago. We're putting our hand up and, hey, we need the move up house. We've had 2 kids and we're out of space. Or, hey, we want to pick up the investment property in the mountains or the beach, right? You know, this is another part of our real estate portfolio. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people overlook their past clients as a primary source that you can get business from. So 75% of millennials, which millennials and Gen Z are making up the biggest group of homeowners or home buyers ever, right? The statistics aren't quite there yet, but from a demographics perspective, they're going to make up the largest buying population ever. So when you look at those groups, 75% of them are most likely to seek out a referral from their network. So their family, their friends, sphere, social media. Where if we think about where most people are spending their time in that age group, it's typically on social media. So having that social media presence is really important for your real estate business as well. So the Close, which is a real estate website, they asked agents where they gained new clients from for the past years. So if you look, primarily it came from referrals and social media. That makes up the two biggest columns by far, right? You know, the stuff that nobody likes to do, believe it or not, only makes up your small percentages. Your cold calling, your print ads, buying leads, and spending money on things like that. Unless you have a true great follow-up system in place, typically you're wasting money on that. So focusing on warm referrals and social media is where you're primarily going to get most of your listing opportunities that they come from. So again, like we're talking about, and what we'll go over here first is a lot of your listings are going to come from your past clients in your sphere. So anybody on this call,
Drew, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I did have a question about the last slide. Sorry, I
Yeah.
was having trouble finding my unmute button. On the posting on social media and the referrals, like posting on social media, that's almost half of someone's business. But did they say anything, or do you know any statistics about like the initial, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're getting referrals, like sometimes you get a referral because of a post on social media. Does that make, like, through your network essentially? So I'm just curious if there was like another factor in there as well, because that's really high. I mean, it's great, awesome, like I love it, but at the same time I'm like, wow, like that's pretty significant. So
I think and Valid, I think I understand your question here, but please stop me if not. But I think there's a blend of posting on social media and leading to referrals. Right?
okay, yes, that was the question, was like, am I missing the connection there, or is there likely some sort of connection between that posting on social media and the referral back and forth?
I definitely believe that there's a connection there, because if we're not posting consistently on social and creating that content for our audience to see, it would be much harder for somebody to just have your name pop in their head for a referral.
Exactly. Okay, just making sure I'm following.
Yeah, no, good question. So this is one strategy that one of the largest producer, not the largest producer in the country, but a strategy that produced $11 million in volume for Jimmy Burgess, right? So he's a realtor in Florida who did this with one idea. And one of the tools I'll show you at the end of this is a way that hopefully I can help create a quicker CMA process for you. But what he did was he went through his database and identified his past clients and prospects from the last year who hadn't sold their home, who hadn't done anything. Hey, we just had some conversations about it. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. We don't know. So he had all their contact information. That includes, their address, phone number, email. And he decided to do a CMA a day for 90 days. So just 3 months of relentless focus on what he was doing. So what he did during that was he generated $11 million in opportunities. Well, at first he needed people to do that, right? So past clients or people in your database who own a home. So that's the first thing you need. Second thing you need is access to the MLS so that you can create a good CMA with good comparable sales that are there in the neighborhood. The third thing you need is a screen recorder. So something like Zoom. You could use Zoom and record yourself doing this. You could use a tool like BombBomb. There's another one called, oh gosh, I'm blanking on it. It'll come to me in a second. It's a Google add-on to Chrome that you can use. That's a free video and screen recorder. And then Google Earth. So I'll show you what he was doing with all of this. Hopefully, let me know if this volume
I
comes
want to
through
show
on
you
this.
basically the couple of things that I tied into. I
Can y'all hear the volume when I play that? Okay.
used Google Earth on this. The reason I like Google Earth is if I'll start this, you'll kind of see it begins to rotate. There's this 2D portion here. You'll see when I click the 2D portion, it flattens out on top of it, makes it look super. The other tab that I had pulled up was the tab for the sales and the comparable active pending solds for the condo that I was doing. This example was a past client of mine in Adagios. This will give you an idea of Adagio condos. I'm going to just let this play so you can kind of see this, and I'll stop it to talk about it as we go through. Hey, Karen, it's Jimmy Burgess with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services down the beach. Just want to check in with you guys. So notice how this is kind of moving and rotating right here. I'm just reaching out to them. This is the condos. You'll see how I show them the condos, and then I push the flatten out button with the 2D. Just push this 2D button, now 3D button. So I'm showing them, it gives me the ability to really show them visually what we're looking at. They can also see me, which gives that connection there. And then I'm going to just fast forward a little bit to show you kind of what I go to next. The next thing that I go to is that I pull up the comparables. And now I'm just going to walk through. You don't have to remember the comparables. I'm just going to go through and talk about the sales prices, the averages of what things are, give a range of value, and then at the end, what I do, and I just kind of go through these, at the end, then what I do is I just simply say, I hope this is valuable to you, and I want to make sure that you know that I'm here if I can ever help in any way. If you guys are thinking about possibly selling, let me know, and I'll be glad to get you a more distinct value just by doing a quick walkthrough of your place. I did 72 of these. These are folks that I had talked to, that I had built a relationship with. Also, this is my building pipeline going forward with people, because I then put them on the calendar to do another one of these in 6 months.
All right. So that was an example of what he was
I want
doing.
to show you basically the couple of things that I tied into.
Oh, sorry, that was a duplicate on the slide there. So here are the results that came from the 72 CMAs that he just put together for people. Listed 11.2 million in property, sold 9.1. And then if we use just 2.5% on the commission, $227,500 in gross commission, just from a strategy of putting together CMA for people that he already knew and had their information for. And that's pretty good money for 90 days, right? I think just about all of us on that call, on this call, would probably sign up for that. And this is where it becomes really powerful too. So it seems like a lot of work, right? Because, hey, we've got to put together all of these things. We've got to put together these different CMAs. So each CMA breaks down to $3,159, right? So for each CMA he's doing, your mindset needs to shift as, hey, this work that I'm doing is going to generate business for me. So let me assign a dollar amount for what I'm doing each day. So, okay, each CMA he put together made him $3,159. So it takes you about a half an hour per CMA to do that, and times 72, that's 36 hours worth of work that he did. Take that 36 hours, divide it by the GCI that he made, and that's what he was making per hour. I mean, that's anybody know anybody, and that's a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that that makes that type of money? I don't. I mean, that's a phenomenal ROI, and that's just relentless focus about doing a lead generating activity, right? These are not people that had their hand up saying, hey, can you do a CMA for me? These were people that he had talked to and had relationships for in the past, and just illustrating to them, hey, there's an opportunity to make you money. Let me show you how to do it.
Hey, Drew, I think Jason might have had a question. I saw you unmute yourself, Jason.
Yeah, I just put it in chat there. You can read it if you want. Just trying to get clarification on, you said 90 days. So just trying to understand. They decided to implement this strategy, and it took them 90 days to put this together. It took them in a total of 90 days that you sent out these CMAs, and within 90 days you were able to list, agree, and sell, and all of that happened within 90 days worth of work. I'm trying to understand how the math works out on hours spent or time spent on this strategy.
Yeah, Jason, that's a good question. I don't know the exact answer to that. I know over that 90-day period, he did 72 CMAs, and within that 90-day period, that led him to get 11.2 million in listing. And within 90-day period, he had 9.1 million in sales. So he still had 2 point some million sitting out there that needed to get closed out.
Wow. Awesome.
And that just comes down to honestly, I think the hardest battle that anyone who's in a commission only job fights is everybody wants to talk about the freedom that comes along with working in real estate or a commission only type sales business. And yes, the freedom's great, but the freedom can also be incredibly dangerous, right? It's sitting down and just being focused on, hey, I'm going to do this really well, and I'm going to see what this leads to for my business, right? So it's carving out that time to make sure that you're doing those sales related activities that are going to generate income for you, right? And things like paperwork and things like that can be outsourced to others and have your focus being spent on doing activities in the green.
Yep.
Hey, Drew, do you know what he did for follow-up on this? Because that seems to be where I get hung up. Like, I'm great at starting stuff, and then just, the follow-up is where I lack. So do you know how he followed up with this?
I don't know the answer to that, Candace. I don't know what his follow-up system was in place. I think that's probably what a lot of us battle. We certainly do, is follow up for people that are showing interest in it. And I think it just comes down to having some type of system in place that follows up for you. The more that we can automate it, or if it's using a CRM that says, hey, when I log into this CRM first thing in the morning, hey, you need to call these 5 people because you sent them a CMA within the last 48 hours, and you need to see if they had any questions on it, or if they wanted to chat with you more. I think the utilization of a CRM, which is something that Mark and I are in the process of putting in place just for our business and is already making a difference for follow-up purposes, is really huge. So we all know expireds and withdrawals obviously are a great source of listings and have been for years. So, we're probably thinking, what's really expiring in this market? And the answer is probably not much, right? So the agents that are having the most success with this are actually going back and looking at expireds and withdrawals from 6 to 12 months ago, right? So these are people that probably got really just inundated with phone calls when their listings expired and got tired of it and fed up, and maybe they just decided not to sell. So the people that are having the most success on the strategy are actually really not, they're not going back 30 days, they're going back 6 months, they're going back 12 months to look at expireds there. Because those people at that point are really not getting the amount of phone calls that they were. So they're more open to talking to you. One thing I will add, and you definitely want to make sure that you do this, is making sure that if they are expired, that the property listings have expired, but also the contractual relationship with the agent has also expired. So that's obviously one of the first questions you want to ask, is to see if they have any contractual relationship still in place with an agent before you go about trying to earn their business. So let's focus on a couple different success tips here for expireds. So I think a lot of times people will spread themselves thin because they think, I've got to go in this multi-county area to try to find expireds. Well, the people that are having the most success with it, they don't try to conquer a huge area. They pick 1 or 2 areas that get a good flow of expireds. They stay consistent in that area and ultimately don't spread themselves too thin, because all of a sudden you start to feel like, hey, this is a daunting task. I'm overwhelmed. I've got to drive from this place to 60 miles away to this place for listing to listing to listing appointment. And they think, oh my gosh, this is too much. I can't do it. And they stop. So that's one thing, is they focus more locally on one place they want to target. Another strategy for these is making sure that you call these expireds, especially if it's a newer expired, between the hours of 8 to 8:30 in the morning. Typically after 8:30, everyone you're going to speak to is going to be relatively upset. They're probably not even going to answer the phone, or they might pick up the phone and cuss you out, right? Because they've probably had 20 or 30 people call them at that point. So you want to be early to the punch when calling expireds. It also is why it becomes more appealing to call an expired listing maybe from 6 or 12 months ago, because they're not being inundated with those calls anymore. And then just being authentic, right? And kind in your approach, not salesy. These people already have experience not selling their home, and they don't need you to tell them that you're the best or that your marketing plan is amazing. It's seeking to understand where they are and how you can help provide your real estate services to sell their home if that's what they decide to do. So these are a couple tools that can be very helpful when you're prospecting. Espresso Agent, Vulcan 7, and Red X, they'll provide expired and FSBO leads. And they also come along with an enhanced service too. So they've got like a CRM and lead management, Candace, if you wanted to look into one of these. They've got something where you can do an auto dialer. They've got video marketing, email marketing, all of those things associated with it. There's a gentleman here in Charlotte that I work with named Chris Dorr, who he uses Vulcan 7 and he uses the auto dialer, and he can call like 30 people at one time. So he's might have a list of 300 leads he wants to call. It might take him 10 or 15 minutes to get through that list because he's auto dialing about 30 at a time. And what'll happen is if one person answers, it'll cut off the rest of your dials so that you can have a conversation with that person that answers. There are some differences between all these as well. So you just want to check out, if this is something that you decide you want to do and add to your business as a way to enhance listings, you'll definitely just want to check out all of these and see which one meets the needs that you would need.
One thing that is a good point, Drew. One thing we noticed when we had 25 locations across the country was that Vulcan 7 and Red X in specific, those were the two I had experience with. And also Land Voice is another one. They all were a little bit different in each geographical area. So some people got better data in one area from Vulcan 7, and some people got better data from in one area from Red X, for an example, or from Land Voice. We actually did get good data in Minnesota from Land Voice, and we called for sale by owners, expireds, and distressed properties through that system. But in some of our other locations, Land Voice just didn't give good data. So it wasn't helpful to them. So you kind of have to try a few things in your area, I guess would be my suggestion. I wouldn't give up if you get one of them. Try to do like a trial period or negotiate like a month to month and just let them know you've heard from other people that the data isn't always as good in certain areas. And you want to make sure it is before you're in a longer term contract. A lot of the places are becoming much more easy to work with. I have found, as far as being willing to let people try it, or buy the first month at a discount and then, lock into something longer from there. So I would just ask those things. Because like anything, if you do something enough, you're going to get the results. That's just the bottom line, period. I don't care what it is. It's just the consistency of it, and having a system that helps you be more consistent typically is going to get you a better result. So Vulcan 7, Red X, Espresso Agent, or Land Voice could be that system for you if you really want to dedicate yourself to this sort of lead gen.
Awesome. And my understanding, Carrie, at a base level is all of these are going to give you expired and FSBO leads. And add-ons on top of it.
That's right.
Great.
Does EXP offer a deal on any of these software?
No, because they're not owned by EXP by any means. And these companies don't necessarily offer brokerages because they're just going straight on out to the individual agent. So, even when we had 25 locations, we weren't even negotiating deals with these companies, and we gave them business in all 25 of our, locations. So it's pretty rare that you might find that. If I were the agent, I would just go and say, look, I want to try it out. I want to try before I buy. What does that look like? Or I want to discount the first month, and then dedicate yourself to it the first month so that you can really gauge if it's helpful in your area or not before you do something long term.
I've always been curious about these type of systems. I work in a very, smaller rural market, second home market, where I just never really personally see a whole lot of expireds coming and going off the MLS personally. And I watch the MLS pretty diligently, but I was just like, how the amount of money that you have to invest to get a whole list, like how many can you honestly expect to see on a list in a hot seller's market of expires that would make it worth the investment, I guess.
Well, right. But the market's definitely shifting, at least in most markets. If it's not in yours yet, then I wouldn't purchase it. But in a lot of areas, we're seeing a tremendous amount more expireds and for sale by owners on the market that are sitting there and aren't selling. So this is a reemergence of, opportunities. Open houses will be more opportunities. For sale by owners will be more opportunities, and expireds will be more opportunities, particularly in a market when you're shifting, because people think their home is going to sell for X and it does not. And they will expire them before they get serious about relisting them again at a real price. And the same thing we're seeing is that for sale by owners have this idea that they can sell their home easily by themselves. And as the market has changed, that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
So you just have to watch your own market, Jason, and go, does that make sense for me? And by the way, pricing can vary from a location to location based on like the data. So that's just something to talk to these places about. Like, we only have so many properties because we're in this rural area, and the pricing typically adjusts accordingly, to my understanding, because we did pay different amounts in different geographical locations. Now I don't remember about Vulcan 7 or Red X, and maybe Drew knows this, and I don't have familiarity with Espresso Agent, but with Land Voice, which I do have, also and Vulcan 7 both, but I remember Land Voice also having distressed properties, meaning something was happening where they were flagged distressed. So maybe they did miss a payment. Maybe there was a divorce and there's a change in like title. We noticed that not all of them were like distressed in the fact that they were missing a bunch of payments, but there had been something that happened. We noticed like sometimes it was divorce, or it was just like something flagged it. So we didn't come at that conversation like, hey, we know you're a distressed property owner, so we're calling you, because of course that would put people on the defense. But we just actually used it as if we were like circle prospecting. We would just say, hey, this is Carrie over here at eXp Realty. Just wanted to touch base with you. We're calling around the neighborhood. We're calling around the area to see if anybody is, has been considering selling their home. We've got some people that are looking to move into the area. And by the way, we had large teams. So we had a lot of buyers. I couldn't guarantee somebody was looking in that area, but in a lower inventory market, that was pretty much the reality. We could find a buyer if property listed. So you would have to just, be cautious you don't want to sell something that isn't true. So be cautious, but just say, we're just looking for sellers. We're still in a low inventory market. Have you considered selling your home? And what was happening, interestingly, in those situations where people they didn't know we knew. And then all of a sudden they'd be like, well, actually, we've been thinking about selling because this is happening, or this happened, or I went through a divorce, or, so all of a sudden we were like, oh, okay, so these might be more motivated people that have to sell versus, people that just want to, which in any kind of transitionary market, that's a good thing, is to find people that have to. So I think Vulcan 7 and Red X do have something like that too, to Drew's point. I know Land Voice did. So if you combine all three of those, Jason, for sale by owners, expireds, distressed properties, then you might have a good list. And it might not be an overwhelming list, which is actually a good thing, because if you have too many, sometimes you don't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Carrie, I'm gonna bring you back in for, we're gonna talk about circle prospecting a little bit, so I may need you to repeat exactly what you just said, but. And Jason, just to kind of echo what you're saying there, my head starts turning when you say, well, maybe there's just a limited amount of expires and withdrawals. There's probably 98% of agents in your market thinking that exact same thing, right? So maybe that's where your opportunity is yes, there's limited expireds and limited withdrawals over the last 12 months, but if no one's working them, somebody is. I bet there's somebody who wants to sell it, even if it is a limited list. Cool. All right, so this is an example of what Red X dashboard of expireds and FSBOs and what they'll call geo leads, which I'll get to in just a moment. This is what it would look like in their site. So one of the best things about it is the phone numbers have been scrubbed against relisted homes in the do not call list. So if you see a number, you're good to call it on there. So obviously another source of potential listings is for sale by owners. And as mentioned, you can get access to contact information using something like Vulcan 7 and Red X. For sale by owner, sales have declined over time, but they do make up about 8% of total home sales. So this is where I think the opportunity lies, is nearly 70% of for sale by owners end up listing their property with an agent after about 4 weeks on the market as a for sale by owner. So that can be a great source of listing opportunity for you, is utilizing for sale by owner. And I think a lot of times when a smart buyer and working along with a smart buyer's agent, if they see something listed for sale by owner, they're coming in and discounting the price 3 or 6% anyway to basically make up for what they think they're saving in commission by not hiring an agent. So really the top 2 reasons that people sell FSBO without an agent are they didn't want to pay commissions, right? That's one of the main reasons. The second main reason is 56% of people who sell for sale by owner are because they just end up selling it to a friend, a relative, a next door neighbor that need to upsize, whatever that might be. So it's just hey, we like each other, we trust each other, we feel good enough to get this sold without an agent. It's not really going on the market. It's almost a private sale between 2 individuals. So they really feel like they have less of a need because they already have a buyer for it, right? So these are the most difficult tasks that for sale by owners face. So instead of calling with the same script that every agent's going to hit them with, why not offer a solution to what the most difficult challenges are? So the first one is preparing the home for sale, right? They don't know what to do to make their house look fantastic and market ready. So just taking pictures of your iPhone with, you in the mirror and your house looking like crap is not a best way to get as much traffic as possible into your home. Understanding the paperwork, I think, even working in real estate and mortgage, there's so many updates that are going on to contracts and updates that are going on to laws so frequently. Heck, it feels hard for us to keep up with it sometimes. Imagine someone who's trying to, and we do this every day, right? Imagine someone who's trying to sell a house on their own for the first time in 10, 12, 15, 30 years. They're going to feel lost there. And then the last one's getting the pricing right? And understanding, hey, what is it truly worth on a market approach? And I'm sure you all have come across plenty of situations where a seller thinks they can sell their house for X, and you have to have that conversation with them of, well, we can list it for X or we can sell it for X, right? And those are two different things about what you think you can get and what you're actually going to sell it for. So approaching those conversations with for sale by owners, not just being, hey, I'm a real estate agent, I want to sell your house. Hey, let's look at a couple different scripts we can use, right? So if people are really tired of being talked to like they're being sold, I'll be honest, I think all of us would feel like we're being sold to. So when you're calling a for sale by owner, your initial approach could be, hey, this is Jason with EXP. You may not know me, but I've sold quite a few homes in your area. I noticed you're looking to sell 123 Main Street. Is that home still available? Yes. Okay. Well, hey, look, and I love this. I love this line. I'm not sure if this is for you, but would you be open to some helpful tips on how to prep your home for sale and understand the paperwork process? I'm in your area often. Can I stop by and see your house and provide you with some information? Right? Much simpler approach. It feels much friendlier. It doesn't feel like I'm trying to sell you anything. I'm simply want to meet you and see if we're perhaps a fit to work together. This would be another approach you could do, right? So that same opening script. Hey, this is Jason with EXP. I'm sure I'm not the first agent to call you. How open-minded would you be to collaborating with any real estate agents to bring you buyers to your home? I'm in your area often. When would be a good time for me to swing by for a couple minutes to preview the home? It's great. All right, Carrie, you're on.
Well, I love some of those scripts because you guys, and I'm sorry, I was off camera for a little bit. I'm here. The scripts, words matter, right? So things like, I don't know if this is for you, but and you probably want to say and because you're negating what you just said, but you just want to say, I'm not sure if this is for you, and I'm just going to share this with you in case it is. Really kind of, I'm coming from value. I'm really non-pressure some. Would you be offended if I, sent you some information after our call today? Would it be helpful if? People don't typically respond like, no, it would not be helpful. Like that's not a natural reaction for a human being. Or yes, I'd be majorly offended if you gave me something of value. If you tried to help me. Like people don't naturally, they don't feel that way. So they're not going to come across that way. So when you use those words, it's a lot harder for them to say no to some regards. And once they say, sure, that's fine, Drew, if you want to send that off or swing by and drop that off, because you said something like, would you be offended if I did this? And they couldn't say no because it's not offensive. And sure, if you want to, once they say yes, then they've said yes. You didn't pressure them. They made the decision and they've already agreed. And so now they're going to respond different to you when you follow up. This is just a game of psychology, and words make a big, big difference. So I like that. And I really do like, I'm not sure if this is for you. I just thought I would call you though and see what you think. I use that all the time. Hey, I just wanted to ask you something and just see what you think about this. People love to give their opinion, right? And so it's just a way to engage. And it's a very, very different approach than a lot of the scripts that you might be given when you're looking at, calling for sale by owners. I want to say one thing, Drew. I literally just had a conversation with a client today about for sale by owners. And I just want to point this out really, really quickly in case this is something somebody else would like to do. And I know somebody in our local market here in Coeur d'Alene within our group that is doing it. So maybe you guys could script practice together or share best practices, and I'm happy to connect to you. Remember, that's part of the value of being part of this group is, hey, if I'm doing something in my local market and somebody else is trying to do it too, let's share the best practices and what's working and let's help each other out. We aren't direct competitors of each other, and we have a great opportunity to help each other out in a group like this. And I think that's what makes the group without geographical borders so valuable, honestly. So on the for sale by owner front, if you are allowed to do this based on your own state rules, regulations, laws, etc. I always have to say that because there are some states that may not allow this. Most that I have been involved in do, so hopefully it will be the case for you. Is, you know, when you have these for sale by owners out there, and I do believe we're going to see more of them that are sitting out there longer. There's been a lot of people selling their home, a fair amount of people selling their home for sale by owner, and they've been able to do it in the last, 6 months, a year because of the market that we've been in. That is kind of, that ship has sailed for most for sale by owners, unless they have a very, very unique property and they're listing it like under market value. They're probably not going to sell their own home. And that's just because of the change of the market. And so there's a couple of things that I did in the past that were really helpful. And I have somebody here locally doing it and it's working well for her. So I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. Remember, a for sale by owner is a human being that may have to buy a home after they sell their home too. So spending time talking to a for sale by owner, even if you don't get the listing and you help them sell their home, if you plant the seed that you want the opportunity to help them when they buy their home, because you're helping them for free in the sale of their home, you still get a transaction. Okay. So you just got to come from a different perspective. I actually helped a tremendous amount of for sale by owners buy a home, even though I didn't help them all sell their home. And they became a client of mine later when they decided to sell again, because then I had the chance to build the rapport. Now, remember, for sale by owners are trying to save money. So when you say to them, you can work with me as a buyer and you don't have to pay anything, they love that, right? Oh, great. I'll take advantage of that. So that's like an easy sale. So that's one thing to think of. Don't always just think of a for sale by owner as the home to sell. Think of it as that they could be a buyer, and make sure you ask that question. The second thing is I actually did open houses for the for sale by owner. So I offered to do an open house at their property. And I said, here's the reason why. I'm going to be really honest with you. It's a win-win. If you do your own open house, there's a lot of buyers that are going to come in your open house that don't really want to talk to you because you're the seller, and that's intimidating. They want to be able to look at the property without the owner kind of standing over their shoulder. So there's a disadvantage for sale by owner to do their own open house. Sometimes you won't get anybody to your open house for that reason. They just aren't going to show up. If a realtor who is a third party is doing the open house, you might actually get some buyers through your property. That's going to be a great value to you. How it's going to be a value to me, because why am I doing this for free? Number one, I would love to build rapport with you. I'd love to earn your business in the future if you ever do work with a realtor. But number two, it's going to get me in front of prospective buyers to grow my business. And that's a win for me. And I would be very direct with them. They loved it because they're like, sweet, go ahead and do that. And it's like, I'm being honest with them. I'm not telling them I'm not going to get value and I'm just pretending like I'm doing this for free for nothing, right? I'm being a professional. I'm a smart business person, and this is a win-win. What do you think? So if you can do that, that can be interesting, because this property probably hasn't been seen by a lot of the buyers out there because it is a for sale by owner. And so it looks kind of like a new thing. And if you can go out there and market this property through your KV core, which is the other thing you have to ask for your local board, make sure that's possible. If you can market that property through your KV core and market that open house in your social media, you're getting a product out to the masses that maybe they haven't really seen because they're not out there looking at for sale by owners. Okay, so that is another thing. Sometimes you would want to get like a marketing agreement signed with a for sale by owner that specifically says, I'm just helping market your property and I'm doing it at, for $1 if you want it to be a binding agreement, and they can buy you a coffee, whatever they are going to do, put a dollar bill out on the table when you do the open house. And it is not representation in any way, shape, or form. And this is just them hiring you to do marketing, which is in the form of an open house and marketing the open house on your social media, et cetera. So just, ask your broker in charge, ask your local board, make sure you can do it. But those are really unique things that most other agents aren't doing. And I can promise you, if you do things that other people won't do, you're going to get a result that other people don't get. So that's one thing. The second thing about it was like giving them things like the property disclosure. Never give them the EXP version of it. Give them one that you can find online that is not branded with a brokerage, because that won't put you at risk or the brokerage at risk, because you are not representing them. But you're planting the seed that they have no idea what they're doing is what you're doing. You're planting the seed that, hey, do you have a property disclosure statement filled out before your open house? Because if you don't, that's a huge legality. And they're like, what do you mean? What's a property disclosure statement? And so, okay, I'll bring this to you. You need to fill this out. Now, I can't do anything with it. I'm just going to show you where I found it on Google, or I'll email you the Google link and you go ahead and print it out, but you need to do this. And, these are the kinds of things that you show your expertise without basically selling them. And you continue to create this doubt that, like, I don't really know what I'm doing and I probably shouldn't be selling my own house. Okay, so let's move on to circle prospecting. Drew, what do you want me to talk about?
Yeah. Now I'll and just to add one thing to what you were saying about, hey, if you offer to work with them on the buy side, keep in mind what that statistic was at the beginning of that. Typically 4 weeks is how long somebody will let their house sit on the market as a for sale by owner. Okay, great. Hey, I'm helping you from the buy side. Hey, what's going on with your sale? Any luck, any bites? Are you getting enough buyers in there?
Right.
Right. So just by helping them on that buy side, if that takes 4 weeks, you're going to have a good chance of getting the listing as well.
And actually, that's a very good point. Get them out looking at property while their property is listed by themselves. Hey, let's just do a couple of showings on some of these properties that you might want to buy when you sell your property. You are going to create a whole bunch of motivation for them to get the property sold if they found a house that they really like and they can't or don't want to write a contingent offer. Okay, so you've got to get them motivated on the other end to then be motivated on the back end. And then you can actually do numbers and say, well, look, if I can help you negotiate this on this property over here. You don't pay me for that. Let's just get me to list this house over here. And this is what it will look like in the full circle of your finances, not just one section of the finances, the whole circle of the finances, the sale and the purchase. It's a win-win and it makes sense. You're making more money here because I'm negotiating with you here. I think I'm going to get a higher price for you over here because right now you're not getting the highest price you get because you're for sale by owner. So, so then it's like you earn the right and they start getting motivated and excited to do something. And then you can start having those conversations. So that's a good point. Violet said in the notes that she just recently read that for sale by owners, days on markets have increased close to 50% month over month from June, July to July, August. Like
Wow.
they're not selling them anymore, where they were selling them for a bit and it was a little bit harder of a strategy. I don't think it's going to be moving forward.
Yeah. I think like a lot of things over the last 2 years, if you sold something,
Nothing was normal.
That was fairy tale world, right?
Yep.
But anyway, we'll keep rolling. Circle prospecting. I know Carrie mentioned some stuff about this earlier. I'm sure you all know what it is. So we'll roll through this pretty quick, but continue to make it interactive. It's one of the best way that you can find seller leads, right? So what circle prospecting is a lead generation strategy that relies on the premise that homeowners that live in the neighborhood or live nearby will want to know about it, right? Possibly more likely to sell their home if they see, hey, this person got X for their property. Right. So this is a great opportunity when you have a listing to call the rest of the neighborhood and do circle prospecting. So I mentioned geo leads a little bit ago. Geo leads are really in circle prospecting are building almost like a mini farm area that has really just direct interest in what's going on in that neighborhood. So RedX, they have a service called geo leads that help you create circle prospecting. So here's how it works, right? You target neighborhoods. You've got your just listed and sold prospecting going on. So, hey, this is Drew Ferguson with EXP. Jason, I wanted to give you a call. I'm selling 123 Main Street. I know you live at 1234 Main Street. Just, hey, is there anybody you can think of that you want to be your neighbor or any friends that are doing that? Oh, no. Okay, cool. How are you guys liking your house? Thinking about selling it at all? Right. So that's what that looks like. Carrie, I'm sure you have much better scripts than that than I do.
Well, actually, I was going to say something. What we used to do? This is crazy, you guys. We had brand new agents who had no experience selling real estate, calling their neighborhoods as one of the first tasks we had them do when they got on our team. So they didn't know what they were doing. And I'm saying this in all lovingness because they were new. Sure. Like they just didn't know what they were doing. And so what we said is, you know what? Anybody can do this. You are a neighbor of these people. And this is what you're going to do. And we would just tell them what to do. And we had new agents setting listing appointments that had no clue what they were doing. And then of course we had somebody go on the listing appointment with them and we taught them. But the script was this simple. Hey, Drew. Role play with me. Hey, Drew.
Hey, Carrie.
Hey, yeah, this is Carrie over here at EXP Realty. I'm your neighbor. I'm also a local realtor.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so I was just calling because as someone that lives in the neighborhood, I know people looking to move here. And I was just curious, have you thought about selling your home anytime in the recent past? Are you thinking about it in the future? So what happens? I'm going to stop you right there. Here's what you have to know the distinction is. I didn't start with I'm a realtor. I started with I'm your neighbor. Hey, Drew, I'm your neighbor. I'm also a local realtor with eXp Realty. And I'm telling you, no one got mad and no one hung up. But if I would have said, hey, Drew, oh, hey, this is Carrie with eXp Realty, they're already shut down. They're like, see you later, I'm not interested. But so here's a caveat. They don't have to be like your direct neighbor to say I'm your neighbor.
Right.
So we would do a neighborhood of 300, 400, 500 homes, or a geographical area of 500 to 1,000 homes. And we would still say, hey, I'm your neighbor. I'm also a local realtor and with eXp Realty. And people did not hang up. It softened them up. And we didn't go into any small talk. We didn't do anything. We just said, hey, you know what? We were just actually calling around the neighborhood. It's still low inventory. Have you thought about selling your home? That was it. Like, I made it as simple as possible for these new agents so they didn't have to think. They just like read the script. It sounded very natural. It was very short and sweet, and they were setting appointments. Why? Because it's a numbers game. You have to figure out how they're not going to hang up with you in the first 30 seconds, which is I'm your neighbor, and it softens it. And they're like, oh, my neighbor's calling. What are they calling about? And then you say, I'm a local realtor. And then you just say, I was just, I know you don't, I'm going to cut to the chase. I know you're busy. I was just curious. We're looking for some more houses, not much inventory. Have you thought about selling your house? And then that's it. When I say I'm your neighbor too, there's something there that puts it in someone's mind. Like, well, if I was going to have somebody sell my home, it would be nice that they knew the neighborhood. They live here. They like the neighborhood. They're going to represent it well, right? So there's just like some psychology that we found worked really, really well. So if you are new to this and you have no idea and you're telling yourself in your mind, I don't know what I'm doing, that is a script that anyone can do, and they can set appointments. And I saw it. People like 2 days in, no clue what they're doing, you guys, using dialers, doing this, setting appointments. It was pretty crazy. So what it is though, is you have to be willing to call a lot of people with the same script over and over again, master the boredom. The reason why is because it is a numbers game. If you've got 500, you're probably going to find about 5 listing appointments, right? So when we're talking about that, you've got to just smile and dial. I mean, it's just the reality, right? Drew, this isn't like, I'm going to call 5 people and I'm going to get a listing appointment. You might, but that's not what your expectation should be. This is more of a numbers game play. But if you could save all of your neighbors in your CRM and you could just call and touch base with them like once a quarter and do this, they start to become familiar with who you are. It's also where you start to now become known as like a local real estate expert. And as you do that, maybe you start throwing in some other things. Like, just wanted to, give you a quick update on what's going on in the market. Do you have a minute? Wanted to let you know we're doing a food drive. My house is a drop off spot, or I'm going to be running through your neighborhood to pick up stuff if you want to leave stuff on your porch. I mean, like, you can get creative with this once you gather this data. But at the beginning, it literally can be that simple. And if you didn't even want to do it any further than just try to turn and burn, just go pick neighborhoods around you and use the same script and it works. Okay.
Hey, Carrie, can I add something to that too? Something else that used to work for me as director of lead generation was you're going to get a lot of people that say no, they're not looking to sell, right? So then that is where I come in, and that follow-up is so incredibly important. So they say no, and it's like, okay, that's no problem at all. Hey, would you be offended if I continue to remain a professional resource for you and just check in every quarter? I'd love to continue to add value to you as a professional resource. Would that be okay? Can I get your email? Perfect. Then you get their email, you have their phone number, you're going to check in with them quarterly. And every single quarter you call, you're building trust, you're building relationship, and most importantly, you're building the rapport. Like Carrie said, having that rapport and allowing them to build the trust with you, because you are calling on time, just like you told them that you would, and you're providing value to them. You're asking them personal questions. What's going on? How are the kids doing? Is there anything that I could add value to you? Hey, do you know anyone that would benefit from having a conversation with a professional realtor? Just those simple questions every single quarter. And I was calling how many people? Probably like 100 people a day. And I was scheduling an appointment a day, and I was closing 6 appointments a month. Just based off of this.
Look at those numbers. Okay, 100 calls to probably 1 appointment.
Yep,
Okay.
1 appointment a day and 6 closings a month, just simply on follow-up.
Yeah, follow-up 97. I mean, it keeps going up. The last one was like 80 something. And now I heard somebody say 97%. But anyways, 80 to 90-ish% of your business comes from the follow-up, not the first call. You will get a few of the, you'll hit somebody at the right time and then you'll get a few appointments, boom, just with the first call, but that's going to be not regular. What Haley said is this is key. Ask them if it's okay if you follow up, and then you have to follow up when you say you're going to. Use it as accountability. I used to tell my also people, and this is what I did, but then when I was coaching them, I said, you know what? You need to start telling your sphere you're going to call them on a monthly basis, because then you're going to feel so bad and embarrassed if you don't, that it's going to be the pressure of it because you told them that you need to do it. And this is how you're going to hold yourself accountable. So tell them, hey, I'm going to call you next month and check in. Is that okay? Would you be okay with that? They're always going to say, sure, sounds good. Talk to you next month. But if you say that and then you never do it, you're essentially self-sabotaging, because they're like, I like Carrie, but she never does what she says she's going to do. But if you do what you say you're going to do, you look very organized, very professional. You look, you look like you have integrity. And this is the type of person that somebody actually wants to work with, right?
Yes.
So that's a really good point, Haley.
I want to just say one more thing. I promise I'm not trying to take over here, but I have to say that there were so many clients that ended up signing a buyer broker agreement, because even though they claimed to work with they always would say, yes, I have a realtor. Yes, I'm working with someone. Okay, great. Would it offend you if I continue to follow up with you anyway? I'd love to just check in to see how the process is going. And you know what happened? I would actually follow up with them. And after about 3 months, they would say, my other realtor stopped following up with me. So yes, I'd love to continue work with you because you're the only person that's actually followed up with me. That has happened quite a few times because I followed up when I said that I would say, I'm going to follow up with you in the middle of March, or I'm going to follow up with you in the middle of October. Is it okay if I continue to just check in? There's no obligation here. I simply want to remain a professional resource for you. Is that okay? No one ever said no.
Awesome. And just to add one last thing on that too, we're all going to have different pillars of our business that we excel at, right? And how we build our businesses up. If you decide to make this a pillar of your business, just to give you a success story of it, I got a good friend of mine here in Charlotte named Adam Jupiter. This is his 3rd year doing real estate full time. He'll close about 20 transactions this year. He did this in his neighborhood. 9 of his closings this year will come from sales in his neighborhood based off of this. So almost 50% of his business is coming from doing circle prospecting in his neighborhood. People know him. I'll be talking to him when he's out walking the dog and he has to hang up with me 3 different times because he's got to talk to somebody, right? Like, and that's just what it becomes. You become the mayor of your neighborhood, and everybody's going to know who you are because you're consistently giving them the information there. So like anything, it's you know that picture that you see online all the time of the guy going for the diamond mine, he gives up right at the end, and that person who's running like crazy to get to the diamond mine. That's much what I would see circle prospecting as, where you might feel like nothing happens for the first 6 months, and then year 3, you're getting 9 closings off of it. And 9 closings is a good chunk of gross commission for sure. All right, so just to give you a little more information here, within GeoLeads, within RedX, so you basically be able to drop a marker on the map and grow your sphere that way. So instead of focusing on that lead search for you, GeoLeads lets you focus on your lead farming in a particular area. So that's actively selling. You can even really filter that out by how long they've had a property, how long they've owned that property for. Maybe let's say you want to see people who've owned it for 5 years or more. Maybe this is something great for like just listed or just sold type of prospecting. And then I will not hit on this one too much because I think we just hit on it. This is a phone. It does work. It does help you make money. And we do have to make the calls if we want to see the results come from it. So this would be a good sample script here. Hi, my name is Drew. I'm a local real estate agent. I'm calling about a property that I've listed in your neighborhood. I'm working hard to get that property sold for my clients. Are you aware of anyone who might be interested in moving into the area? Do you know anyone who might be looking to buy or sell real estate in the next 30 days? Have you considered buying or selling this year, right? A lot of what Haley and Carrie were just saying that their conversation sounded like when they were building their businesses up. Another great one is you can approach it from like a survey perspective. So, hey, my name is Carrie. I'm a local real estate agent in Coeur d'Alene. We're doing a home ownership survey. Do you have any plans of selling your home in the next 12 months? yes, I'm curious about what's making you think about selling in the next 12 months. So understanding, hey, I'm trying to figure out some information. Are you planning on selling? What's the reason driving it? More than likely, it's probably going to be some of the things that always cause real estate sales to happen, right? Your 5Ds. So that survey perspective can help you understand the psychology behind why they're wanting to sell as well. All right, so here's another great tool. Anyone ever heard of this slide broadcast? So it's a ringless voicemail marketing software. Basically, it allows you to call directly to voicemail and send thousands of ringless voicemail drop messages in just a matter of minutes for really, really cheap. It can reach mobile phones and landlines. You guys have probably experienced this on your cell phone before, where you say, hey, I've got a voicemail from Drew, but I don't have a missed call from Drew. When did that happen? Right. So it's basically the ability to drop a voicemail onto somebody's phone using slide broadcast. You can record what you want it to say, and it'll just appear in people's voicemails. So this is an example here. This is Christina Griffin of the Griffin Group. She's a top agent in Tampa Bay, Florida. Her team closed 440 transactions the previous year. So what she did with slide broadcast was she basically sent out more than 1,200 voicemail messages and a 2-mile radius of a new listing she had. She got more than 175 return calls in 1 hour from doing that. I will say I've used slide broadcast. We did it when when rates were really low and we were reaching out to our past clients surrounding refinances. If you're going to do it, make sure you got your afternoon cleared out, because you will get phone calls back. Your phone will start lining up, and you do want to make sure that you can field those calls as they're coming in. So this is the script she used on slide broadcast. Hey, this is Christina Griffin with the Griffin Group at Coldwell Banker. We just listed a home in your community. If you know anyone looking to move, give us a call. So from those 1,200 calls, she got 2 new listings and 4 closed buyer deals out of it. For literally going on a slide broadcast, recording a ringless voicemail, paying a little bit of money to send it out, and then fielding the calls coming in. Not to mention, so you got 6 closed deals out of the 170-ish calls that she got back. You also are getting 170 contacts that you can add and do things that Haley and Carrie are talking about, right? Giving real estate updates once a quarter, once a month, whatever that might be. So it's also creating more people in your database that you can market to. So this is an interesting one. It's an FRB, a for rent by owner. So this can be found on RedX. So what it is it finds non-owner occupied vacant properties. So absentee owners, right? Hey, this is sitting vacant. If I owe a mortgage on it, I'm making a payment without any income coming in on it. Or if I own it free and clear, I don't have anybody in there making me any income off it. So what it'll do is it'll help filter out leads for you, managed by property management firms, highlighting the numbers that are on the do not call list so you don't reach out to them. Investors with vacant properties are going to be people that want to talk to you, right? Because they're taking on carrying costs each month without having a renter in there. And eventually they may get to a point where they want to sell that. So typically these are going to be leads that aren't getting talked to with a bunch of other real estate agents as well. So by the time you're getting in touch with them, they're going to be probably more open to talking with you because their phone hasn't been blowing up from other real estate agents reaching out to them. So you're going to have really 3 types of absentee owners. The first one's going to be an owner by default. So these are your low hanging fruit. I have to rent it due to circumstances. I'd like to sell it versus managing the property. This might be somebody who maybe inherits a property after a family member passes. You're gonna have your active investors. So these are your diehard people, right? They're gonna want to make sure they're leveraging 1031s to avoid capital gains taxes. They are numbers oriented, bottom line oriented. All they care about is dollars and cents. And then you're gonna have your reluctant liquidators. So they would cash out, but they want to avoid capital gains tax. Ultimately, setting up a conversation with a tax professional is going to help them be put at ease and get comfortable with selling their property and understanding what they do with the proceeds from there. This is Kevin Scoggin. He's an agent using RedX. He met an investor who needed 11 properties sold. He took a few in-person meetings with them, and he took the listing for $1.4 million. He did that using the for rent by owner tool within RedX. All right, social media. So if we are using things like Instagram polls, this is a great way that we can start fishing for listing leads, right? This is just a very simple thing that you can post on your Instagram story and see who responds. They say no, cool. Not really focus on those people too much, right? They say yes, those are people that I want to reach out to. This is another great example of what you can do on Facebook. So using ads for values. It's got a few twists, but this is another example basically showing you as a local expert, right? A lot of people are going to offer CMAs. This team in particular changes it up in a little bit. They put the average home price increase as their headline. This makes it real for people, right? When you can put the numbers behind it. They've got really kind of high quality photos and drones of the neighborhood that they're working in there. And then they have that call to action of getting a quote. So there's no confusion about what the next step is. They receive these type of messages, right? My boyfriend and I are looking into selling our home. We're unsure what price to ask. That's not really a lead, right? That's a somebody putting their hand up and saying, please come list my house, right? We need to sell it and we need to sell it with the prices that you're talking about. And we want to use y'all to do that. Again, this is not going to be something that you just run once and expect, man, magic to happen. You know, this is going to have to be something that you consistently do in a targeted area. So what you can do, Facebook did kind of adjust their ad strategy where you can't necessarily target a specific neighborhood, but what you can do is target an audience that's taken in other content in that area. Top neighborhoods in South Charlotte, best pizza in Westwood, right? Like, so people that are clicking on things like that are going to be able to see this type of information. Facebook Live. This can be another thing that you can use here. So this is Cole Realty. They're doing a 1-minute market update for the Chattahoochee River Club. The house they're standing in front of in that video is the first house that everybody sees that drive into that neighborhood. So if you live in that neighborhood and you see that home, you're going to stop scrolling. Well, hey, that's my neighborhood. What's going on there? So this is going to be a really smart way to show yourself as that local expert for that neighborhood. So you could retarget people who are watching that to grow your audience on Facebook. So this would be an example of, let's say you've got a community and maybe they've got like an awesome rec center with a pool, right? Maybe that's a great place to shoot like a 1-minute market update so that prominent structure that sticks out in that neighborhood, people are aware of it. This is an interesting one. So, and honestly, probably an important one right now because the migration trends continue to be so intense across the country. But you can go on Redfin and they have a migration report and you can set it for the area that you're in and where people are moving from. Well, obviously, since COVID, a lot of people and companies have adopted a permanent type of work remotely option for employees. So you're seeing a lot of people migrate from certain states and move into others. So this tool can help you run a report to see, hey, are there large concentrations of people leaving a particular area and moving to your city or state? So this example would be, hey, there's a good chunk of people leaving the Bay Area and going to Austin, Texas. So how do you use this? It's you identify where your customers are moving from. Then you start to create helpful content and guides specific to the region that you live in and that people are moving to. Put content out on things like YouTube using keywords, Instagram using hashtags, advertise it on Facebook in their local area. For example, if you could run an ad of, hey, moving from the Bay Area to Austin, here's what you need to know. You can also use this as a way to entice sellers to list with you because, hey, I've got a marketing and strategy that's not only going to touch all of Austin, Texas, but that's going to touch people that are leaving these high migratory areas and coming to our area. So in Charlotte, for example, one thing we would want to do is target people in like New York City. So we get a lot of those finance jobs that have been able to go remote that are saying it's $5,000 a month to rent an apartment in New York and it's as big as a shoebox. This sucks. I want to move to Charlotte where I can rent a 2-bedroom for $2,000 and I can get paid my New York salary. Okay, cool. Well, I can get in touch with those people and start creating a pipeline of, hey, these are people moving from New York, making New York money that are coming to Charlotte. And they think, hey, maybe I want to rent, but all of a sudden they might see Charlotte real estate and go, oh gosh, I can buy something here. And not only can I buy something here, it's going to save me $3,000 a month from what I was paying in rent in New York. So here's what it would look like. This would be on Instagram. This is an example here where you would want to research relevant hashtags. So for example, moving to Austin. And hashtags basically are the equivalent of people searching on Instagram, right? They use hashtags to see relevant content, and that's going to help your content get found. Now, then you got to create the content that's relevant for people moving to Austin. So answering common questions, showcasing different neighborhoods, showcasing different restaurants, maybe showcasing sports or activities that are in that neighborhood as well. And then ultimately you want to be the guide, help people build engagement with people that are moving there. We've got a couple people in Charlotte that are doing this at a really high level, and the real estate businesses are taking off. I know one is actually an EXP agent, a guy named Andy Greisinger. I'm not sure if y'all have ever heard his name, but if you look him up on Instagram, he's got a heck of an account that he's built showcasing every little small neighborhood in Charlotte. And hey, these are great places to be investing in real estate in Charlotte. And his business he's doing 100 plus closings this year. And that was somebody doing roughly 20-ish closings about 3 years ago. And he's created just consistent content within social media, and it's just led to a complete explosion in his business. This would be like a good example on YouTube, right? So creating Austin market updates. So using good keywords that people are searching there, and then creating content like this that can show people and give them an understanding and a feeling for what they'd be relocating from to. Email, right? When done effectively, it's another way that you can drive listings from past clients in your database, right? The problem with most emails in real estate is that they all look the same. They're templated, they're impersonal, they offer little value. The key to email is really making it relevant and making that connection with somebody. A lot of agents just kind of set it and forget it with this type of email marketing, and that's why they don't get the returns on it. So Connie Carlson here, she kind of talks about the elephant in the room, right? Think about it. A seller becomes a buyer before they list. So she's dealing with the number one concern that potential sellers have, which is, will I find a home? So she used, this is Bomb, by the way, which is a video platform here. She sent that to her database, and the subject was, do you need to buy or sell at the same time? And so, one of obviously the main reasons that owners aren't selling is they don't know that they'll be able to find a suitable home to buy with the limited inventory that we have. So Connie opened up her calendar for those that were in that situation and said, if this is you, let's talk about it. This would be an example of an email you could send to your database. If you guys want to take a screenshot of it or anything like that, this would be a great thing for you all to institute here. It's not boring, right? It's templated. You can send this out to your past clients. It's not something that's like, hey, here's your banana bread recipe for October, right? Think about that stuff when you receive it, right? Are you actually sitting there like, oh gosh, this really makes me want to go decorate my home for the fall? Or typically not. We're taking a look at it, deleting it. Maybe we don't even open it. So it's really an offer to help. This is an offer to help anyone who's in those categories of planning, thinking, or curious. This email got 72% open rate. It's pretty good. It's a lot better than probably your typical email open rate, which I would guess probably hovers somewhere in like that 10 to 20% range. So much more eyes going on the content that you're sending out there. Anybody familiar with HomeBot on this call? So this will be one of the tools we'll talk about at the end, a little more in depth. And we've got kind of monthly ongoing webinars with HomeBot where they'll do an intro to it the first Wednesday of each month. So I can get you all the times on that if it's something you want to check out. This is something Mark and I have instituted with our business. It helps provide consumers with an in-depth data regarding the local housing market. So things like the estimated value of their home, options for selling, equity in their homes, understanding how to actually pay off their home sooner. Incredibly powerful tools, right? That actually make a difference for the people that are opening them. We get about a 70% open rate on our HomeBot emails. And that's because people are more curious about what's my home worth, right? What can I do with the equity that's in my home? And what's great about it is there is a way for us to partner with agents on it, and it brands it for you and us. so we stay top of mind with those clients that you're working with. So again, it's really just a financial digest to homeowners, very engaging, drives conversations. Mark and I probably get about a loan a month off of HomeBot, just from, hey, the people utilizing the activity on it, putting their hand up saying, hey, I'm thinking about selling, or hey, can you give me a call about consolidating some of my debt and the equity I have, et cetera. So it's a very powerful tool that's driving opportunity. It's the ROI on it is fantastic. For us, it's about $220 a month. I'm not sure from the agent perspective. I believe we partner with you all. I think you all pay 25 and we pay 25 to have your clients in here. And so what'll happen is, hey, Joe Smo requested a CMA, and what a great opportunity for you to reach out, Candace, and say, hey, Joe, I'm here for you. I know what HomeBot's saying. Let me put together a detailed CMA for you and see how close we are on that value. Their values are backed by BlackRock, I believe. So they're not like a Zestimate, right? Your values here are at a much higher level and much more accurate level than what you'd see on like a Zestimate, for example. Their goal at HomeBot is they're trying to essentially become a competitor to Zillow. They even have a search and listing function within their technology now. So you can integrate HomeBot into your CMA strategy, right? To capture seller leads. You can add those leads to the monthly HomeBot financial digest that they get. So if they own a home, you can add them into that and they'll start to receive this. Helps create instant offers for sellers. You can integrate it with video. Again, I'll get you all some more information on HomeBot here at the end of the call. So if you wanted to join the monthly Zoom that we have with the representative at HomeBot and with Movement, we'll get you that information so that you can do that. I think the next one is October 6th or 5th, whatever that Wednesday is. Direct mail, believe it or not, it's not dead. It can be effective if done consistently. It usually works very well with circle prospecting. So if you're using, multiple mediums like calls, door knocking, targeted social media, direct mail in a specific geographic area, you're going to have those people see your information consistently. So Joanne Labuda, she's a top 1% agent in the US. Her top lead strategy places an emphasis on a direct mail, email, social media integrated in with calling her database, right? So think about the touches. She makes 33 touches in a 12-month period to her clients through social, direct mail, calls, email. This would be a good example of something that you could send in direct mail. I'm going to show you something here at the end of the call briefly as well, where I can create these market reports for you, where if you wanted to include that in your direct mailing, we could get that generated for you so that you would have some good materials to send out. This is an example of an expired postcard that can be sent out to other expireds to really demonstrate your ability to sell previously expired homes. So notice what Paul does is he really tells a seller success story here, right? There were 7 agents that listed this house before me. There were 0 offers on it before me. It was on the market for 3 years before me. Within 20 days, I had 2 offers. I sold it for 98% of the list price. And I had over 150 potential buyers come through on an open house. And I saved them $60,000 in buyer requested repairs, right? So telling those stories and showing your experience with helping things like expireds is just going to help create more credibility and more trust when dealing with those people. If you all wanted to screenshot this as well, this would be another great buyer letter or email that you could send out. Send this out to the neighborhoods you're getting listings in. Again, goes nicely with circle prospecting or something that you could be emailing out to your database as well. Give everybody a chance to screenshot that. And then we already know that open houses are a great way for agents to meet new buyers, as Carrie mentioned earlier. One of the things to think about is that these buyers could also be potential sellers too. So many likely you're going to have people coming through your open houses that probably need to sell their house first before buying their next house. So open houses can become a great source of business, not just to find new buyers, but to also pick up new listings. Because if they're coming through that open house without an agent and they need to sell, you're going to get the opportunity to work with them on both sides. And this is a great question to ask, right? Thanks for stopping by today. Do you own a home in the neighborhood? If you're using an open house app to check people in, it's going to allow you to capture their information. Perhaps potential sellers are not quite ready to sell, but they're testing the market. This would be just a great way to ask them if they have a home they need to sell. You can offer, again, to just keep them up to date through things like HomeBot, the CRM, and the information that you're sending out each month or quarter to your database as well. And that is pretty much it. So we covered past clients, sphere of influence, 90-day CMAs, expires and FSBOs, circle prospecting, social media, the Redfin migration report, HomeBot, email, direct mail, and open houses. Those are great things there. I do want to show you all just a couple of these tools I mentioned as well. If you're doing CMAs, does anyone have an active person that they're looking to do a CMA for in the coming, let's call it, week?
I can give you one.
All right, awesome. What's the address?
It is 8175 Tates Creek Road.
Tates
Lexington,
Creek,
Tates, Tates Creek.
Lexington?
That's correct.
All right, cool. Well, that
Of course.
let's see.
Try,
You can try.
I was going to say, try, I know there's one that I pulled the comps on close by that I've talked to as well. So if you want to try 8725 also, I have in my notes. I don't know. It's kind of out, so it might not.
There we go.
Oh, there it is.
So this one, with it being rural, Violet,
Yeah.
we've got a little bit of, we've got a wide range in the values right here. Not a great value confidence. So may not be the best for things like this home in particular. I do like that it gives you your comp history here of some other places, or excuse me, a value history for the home here. And this does spit out some comparables as well. Let me show you one. Let me do one.
What's there looks really nice though. So I get the idea.
Let me give you an example of a home here.
I have one that it's basically a buyer though, that he's kind of arguing with me about the comps, and I'm
Okay.
trying to, so 7632 Black Hawk Lane, TKK.
All
Yes.
right. Where are you all at, Candy, on what he thinks it's worth and what you think it's worth?
He's wanting, I'm trying to respond to an email he just sent today. He's wanting to, let me find the email. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I want to say, hold on. Okay. He's given me all kinds of different comps around there and when they've sold, and he says that he wants to go at 375, and it's listed. What is it listed? I think it's listed at 456, and there's one that's comparable to it that's bigger and very similar, that at 444. So I told him, I mean, I personally think 444 would be the number if he was going lower than what they have it listed for.
Okay, let me share this with you in the chat so that you can have a copy of it.
Okay. He's quite interesting because he's like, we can't go by the estimations of when the market went crazy, because that's not real value. I'm like, okay. And I told him, like, I just went back, I think I went back 60 days. I'll have to see, but because this is the second house we've chatted about,
Yeah.
but I like a challenge.
No worries. Well, feel free to share this with him. Candy, you're close to Charlotte, obviously, in our market. I know one of the things we talked about was the migratory trends, right? And we see all these national headlines about, oh, home prices are starting to drop. But when we look at a place like Charlotte and the greater Charlotte market, it doesn't line up with national statistics. So I think that's the hardest part right now, is getting people's minds to understand that just because what you see on a national statistic and a national headline does not line up with necessarily the market that you are hyper localized in and doing real estate in. So I hope that helps you. Anybody on this call, I'm going to add all my contact information in here to the chat. It's literally that simple for me, where you just send me the address. I can put together this for you. You can have a copy of it, and maybe you want to do that and compare it to your typical CMA process. I like this tool a lot. It seems to line up pretty well with CMAs that agents are coming across with. Violet, I apologize for the ones in Kentucky. we didn't have the value confidence that we liked to see.
It happens. I'm
Sorry.
kind of used to it. That's what keeps my job interesting.
So that's an example of hopefully something that can make your life easier from a CMA perspective. And then I wanted to show you all this as well. We'll call it a real estate report card, which really kind of looks like that slide from a couple minutes ago. Let's see here. I'm going to do Charlotte. So if you wanted something like this for your local market, either the county or the MSA, feel free to email me at my email that's in the chat there, and I can put this together for you as well. It just shows your typical medium home price, your appreciation that is forecasted here, both in the next year and over the next 5 years, the gain and appreciation that you can have, total population, unemployment rate compared to the national average, total employment, and your household formations, which again, it's pulling all of this information from public sources. I do like the fact that most of the forecasting is very conservative in terms of appreciation rates. Again, Charlotte, I think, is one of the most unique markets of the country. So our 5-year appreciation gain is projected out very nicely. That's obviously going to fluctuate from market to market to market. But this would be something where if you wanted me to create this for you, I could create a PDF. You all could go get it printed out on nice paper, and you could give this out as part of your maybe quarterly mailings that you do to your past clients. And then the last thing is, let me give you all the schedule. Actually, do me a favor, if you wouldn't mind, if you're interested in HomeBot and learning more about HomeBot, if you could send me an email to the email address I put in the chat, which is drew.ferguson@movement.com. I will send you a couple of different Zoom options for when they're putting together the HomeBot classes. Again, it's going to be the first Wednesday of every month. So you all be able to register for something that makes sense in your schedule. And I believe it's just 30 minutes to an hour going over the uses of HomeBot and how it can be a nice add-on to your business. So if you're interested in that, just shoot me an email at drew.ferguson@movement.com and I'll get you the direct information on it. And Carrie sent me a chat. She is on another call. So if there's anything else I can help you all out with today, let me know. If not, I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. And thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you found some value in this, and hope it's at least one thing that you can take away from this to add to your business and go create another listing opportunity for you. Thank you, everybody.